dancehall artist made me start reading my Bible. Reggae is known as spiritual freedom music. It's soulful, while dancehall does get demonized a lot. But if you pay attention, you realize that some of these artists have a lot of wisdom to share. And if you look very, very closely, you'll realize that the reason why they are so dark is at its root due to failings on the part of the system. If you're like me and you want to see the world become a better place, you probably think of how to use that information for the greater good. In my spiritual journey, reggae has been really important because it helped me to move towards consciousness as a black person. I was raised as a Christian, and when I started questioning my beliefs, reggae really did come in handy because I started to realize that what I've been taught to believe is not, it's something is not sitting right with me. But dancehall really helped me as well because looks can be deceiving, but I'm a very, very, very dark person. I also do have a lot of masculine energy. So let me tell you a little bit about that and how this music helped me to be able to communicate with God on my own level, instead of having to turn to a church. Emphasize enough how much the pandemic changed my life because I started questioning my beliefs. And when I started questioning my beliefs, I started questioning my existence. So I started realizing that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And I said, what if reincarnation is real and I do not want to fucking come back here? And that started shifting my actions because I'm saying, that means I need to start acting like I don't want to come back here. And the Humans and Monsters Are Not the Same album really helped in this regard because Govana helped me to realize that God me need to focus on, right? The mental slavery song, in it he basically said that it's a prayer that Jaja help all who are lost to find their way. I am grateful for that prayer because God really did help me to find him and to find myself. He said, religion a division, so be wise, cause the whole away a one in a Jaja eyes. And that is true. The first universal law is the law of divine oneness. We are all one. We're not separate from each other. We're not separate from nature. Separation is an illusion, and religion feeds into that separation because we have different beliefs, and it causes a lot of problems. And I did not particularly realize that before. And he said Jaja are the only true leader. And even in the light, he said, when the heathen are try to come blind me, just open my eyes. And that was necessary for me at that time because I realized I blind them people that try blind me for real. But what was more important in the light to me was the fact that he said that Jaja love him, and it's the first time I ever heard somebody that I could relate to be confident that God loves them. So I said Jaja love him, but at the same time this is a man who sings about sex and violence, and them something that occupy my mind as well. So him saying that he's confident that Jaja love him made me start to believe that Jaja love me as well. It made me start to believe that maybe I'm also destined for greatness. It really encouraged me. And the fact that he said Psalm 37 at the first verse him learn, it turned me to my Bible. So for the first time in my life, even though I was in Christianity for over 2 decades, it was the first time that I started reading the Bible for myself. A dancehall artist made me start reading my Bible, and that's when I started realizing that what they want me to see in the Bible is not exactly what it is really saying. Singing along to protection is one of the things that led to me having a mystical experience. That's the reason why I know that words really do cast bells, and it's very important that you be careful which songs you sing along to, because you're literally manifesting certain things into your life. I used to pray to God asking him to die, and I used to wish to die every day, but eventually I started singing the I Don't Want to See the Morgue part, and that kind of created a gateway for God to communicate with me, even though I technically didn't really mean that I didn't want to see the morgue. I was just singing along to a song. But I'll speak a little bit about that in a few. I have to mention Intense's testimony, because even though the song sounds a bit haunted, he says in it, got another heart with demon thoughts, and that's extremely insightful. It actually helped me to understand that who I am at my core is different from, you know, the dark thoughts that may pass through my mind, because you are not really your thoughts, you know, you are the observer of your thoughts, and it really matters which thoughts you decide to build on. But I used to even say to my therapist that I don't think that I'm a good person, because I know what goes through my head. But for somebody to say, to separate them heart from what goes through their head, that was something big for me, because I realized that I too don't have to define myself by whatever dark thoughts might go through my mind. And it doesn't matter what it looks like to other people, as long as you know who you are at your core. Like, it really, like, what anybody else has to say, it doesn't really matter. You know how ganja take you to a different place? Well, I was in a different place because of psychology. So I ended up confronting my inner child, and there were some deep psychological revelations, and it was intense. There were a lot of emotions, and I ended up in front of this very intense energetic presence. And I realized that other people who have had like near-death experiences say that they go in front of God for judgment, and he speaks to them through energy and not words. That's the same thing that was happening to me. Like, there was an energy outside of myself, and it was relaying information to me, and I was understanding what it was saying through energy. But the thing is that I said to God, I don't want to die, and that was insane to me, because that thought had never crossed my mind ever. Like, I had never thought, you know, I don't want to die, maybe I want my life to change. That had never crossed my mind. So being in front of this presence and saying I don't want to die, it was shocking to me. And later I realized that it's because I was singing, you know, I don't want to see the morgue, why that could even be possible. But anyways, God was telling me what he wanted me to do, and it sounded like something that I could do. He did leave out the part that, you know, I'd have to go through the valley of a shadow of death or whatever. But since then, you know, through a lot of suffering and madness and everything, I had been able to use physics and math and psychology to understand how the universe can communicate with us on a daily basis, how we can personally communicate with God. So I don't have to be high for God to speak to me anymore. Like, every day, every moment is communication with God for me now. I may have heard reggae music my entire life. It wasn't until I went back to nature that I started internalizing the message. That it wasn't until then that I started understanding the message in general. And funny enough, I did not know that natural hair connects you to the cosmos. I went back natural by accident, but that's a different story. On the last day of UA, before them locked me down for the pandemic, I was talking to my friend, and he said that anywhere in the world I go, him can find me with his antenna, because natural hair acts as antenna. At that point in time, I was not conscious. So, you know, you have your judgmental thoughts, and I was just like, yeah, this guy's crazy. And further into the conversation, he said something about being diagnosed somewhere on the schizophrenia spectrum. He's a scientist as well, and he is wise and stuff, but you know, some things that he would say, I was just like internally kind of judging him. But life comes at you fast, and a few months later, I myself started going mad, and I realized that my hair had something to do with it. Growing out my hair did have something to do with it. So I really did learn something about judgment as well. I realized that schizophrenics have a lot of symptoms in common with psychics or spiritual people. So whereas a psychic will hear voices and say, oh, it's spirit speaking to them and their spirit guides telling them what to do, like they're fine with the voice because they see it as guidance. If you tell a psychiatrist that you're hearing voices, they're going to prescribe medication for you. There is a symptom of a delusional disorder where if you think someone is speaking to you through song, yeah, you're mad. But a psychic or a spiritual person will say spirit is speaking to them through the song, or God is speaking them through the song. And the first song that I heard a message that was definitely for me and was Beat Them Bad by Bojo. Where him say you've got to do this on your own, and never say never when you know you're clever. It was clear as day to me, but at that time I had no idea like what that would mean for me. It was just profound, and it's like the message was for me, right? Now I completely understand, but back then I just knew the message was for me. And the second song was Mirage by Alkaline, where he said life, death, which one, pick one. Now at that point in time, I mean, God spoke to me. The depression didn't seem as bad anymore because I'm in lockdown and I'm not around people, and I'm really seeing a different side to life that I'd never seen before. There was not much anxiety. I was raising my vibrations. I was getting in touch with nature. So of course, if I think that God is saying to me to choose life, I'm gonna choose life, because it would be very ungrateful for me to not choose life when you show me say life can be good. And like a week later I went mad, and that is how I know that my dedication and baptism from when I was a Christian did not mean anything to God. But you know, through madness I was able to understand the divine better, and that's how I'm right now. I'm very confident that Christianity is not it. It's really not it. Even though professionals are basically trying to make it seem like something was wrong with me or convince me that something was wrong with me, I knew that what I was going through was spiritual, because the universe did not make me go through something before I was ready to experience it. It prepared me for each step, even when I didn't realize that I was being prepared. So, you know, I had the ringing of the ears and the intense dreams, like I was slowly being carried into the spirit world, and I did not realize it until I was in the middle of the spirit world. And after I promised God my life, I'm not gonna lie, I was doing some bargaining. Like I was really trying to bargain my way out of it, because I was having an existential crisis. I didn't know how to navigate life without being suicidal. So I'm finally realizing that I am stuck here. I am trapped here because I have promised God my life, and I cannot, like I've tried to take it back, and that's not possible. I am finally acknowledging that, and because I'm finally acknowledging that, I have to change some shit around here, because I cannot exist on this planet like this. Emperor Haile Selassie said that when African righteous people come together, the world will come together. So I'm very optimistic about the future at this point in time, because Babylon is falling, whether you can see it or not. It is falling. I post videos whenever I feel like it, and on my Instagram I try to be more regular, hopefully giving people some hope and psychological tips or psych tips and whatever. So if you want to see me more often, I'm on Instagram at Spectacular Thoughts.